Hi everyone, this is Dr. Nitin Chhoda with Ignition Time and welcome to my channel. Thank you so much for being a viewer. Thank you so much for being a subscriber. I appreciate you. Now, President Biden conducted a press conference today. He actually answered questions from a number of reporters. Some were easy, some were a little bit interesting, some were a little bit difficult. And it was, it was an interesting press conference. But there were two things that actually jumped out at me as far as stimulus is concerned, because President Biden was specifically asked about, hey, are you going to use the process of reconciliation to pass stimulus? And number two, what are you willing to do to get Republicans on board? What are you willing to do to make sure that the whole thing is bipartisan? And the responses from President Biden were quite interesting. So in the first segment that I'm about to show you, President Biden was specifically asked, are you going to be using the process of reconciliation? And his answer was rather interesting, because I can tell you that Chuck Schumer was pretty upfront about saying, hey, we'll do whatever we got to do, man. I'm the Senate Majority Leader. Talk to me like I'm the Senate Majority Leader. And even Bernie Sanders said that we shouldn't wait weeks and months and months. We should simply use the process of reconciliation and get things done. But President Biden was a bit more circumspect, a bit more diplomatic. Basically, he said reconciliation will depend on how the negotiations go. He talked about the importance of trying to do something bipartisan instead of trying to ram something through. And he said, hey, I've been doing this for a long time. I've been in the Senate a long time. There's a process to all of this. There's negotiations involved. So let's just see how the negotiations go. I also reported in my earlier video that the director of the White House Economic Council, Brian Deese, there he is. Hello, Brian. Actually spoke with a bipartisan group of senators, both Republicans as well as Democrats. And their number one concern was that individuals who were already wealthy were going to get significant amount of money by way of stimulus checks. So they wanted it to be a lot more targeted. Now, the thing that I mentioned in my previous video, hopefully you had a chance to check it out, is that making the stimulus more targeted, the simplest way to do that is to simply amend the income threshold. Keep in mind, the existing threshold is that if you make less than $75,000 a year as a single person, or if you make less than $150,000 a year as a family of two filing jointly, then what happens is you start getting the stimulus checks if you're below that threshold, and if you start to make more, your stimulus check reduces. What if that income threshold was actually reduced? In other words, what if the threshold was brought down to 40,000, 50,000, based on the most recent tax returns, based on, I would imagine in this scenario, we're talking 2019 tax returns, because everyone's 2020 tax returns were quite skewed. Biden addressed that as well. So first, let's take a look at President Biden's comments on whether or when the Democrats will use the process of reconciliation. And he said, hey, just wait for a spirit of cooperation to emerge. Let's try and cooperate and see what happens. Very interesting what he said. It's a very measured approach. Let's see comments from President Biden about the future of the process of reconciliation to jam through the next stimulus package. Let's watch.
Friday, you said the nation is in a national emergency. We should act like it. Given the scale and the severity of the need, how long are you willing to get sufficient Republican support before you would greenlight Democrat attempts to use reconciliation, for instance, to pass that bill?
Well, look, the decision on reconciliation will be one made by the leaders of the House and the Senate. But here's the deal. I have been doing legislative negotiations for a large part of my life. I know how the system works. And what can't guarantee anything at all, but I can say that what I'm going to be doing, and we've already begun, is making it clear to the leadership in the House and the Senate, as well as the group of 16, bipartisan group, as well as Republican individuals who have an interest in the issues that are in my package, and saying, here's what I'm doing, here's why I want to do it, here's why I think we need to do it, and what kind of support can or can't you give to that? And then we go on to the way in which we deal with legislation all the time. You know, we didn't have any votes for the recovery package when Barack and I came into office. We were short 3 votes. We didn't know we had the votes until the day of bringing it up. And but here's the deal. You know, it's interesting, and I know you ask a lot of these questions, you know the answers, but you have to help educate the public as well. I'm not suggesting you don't know what I'm about to say. No one wants to give up on their position until there's no other alternative. They either have to make a decision that they don't do they don't support what is being proposed, or they insist on what they have, or they let it all go away, fall down. I think we're far from that point right now. The decision to use reconciliation will depend upon how these negotiations go. And let me make clear about negotiations. I've always believed part of negotiation on the part of a president and or a chairman of a committee trying to get a major piece of legislation passed is about consultation. It's not enough for me just to come up to you and say, I like this, I expect you to support it. I want to explain to you why I think it's so important in this package that we have to provide for money for additional vaccines. Why I think it's so important, why we provide for money to extend unemployment benefits, why I think it's so important that we provide money to provide for the ability of people not to be thrown out of their apartments during this pandemic because they can't afford their rent. And to make the case to you why I think and what I think the priorities within this piece, we think the priorities are, I apologize, were within this legislation. And I don't expect we'll know whether we have an agreement and to what extent the entire package will be able to pass or not pass until we get right down to the very end of this process, which will be probably in a couple weeks. But the point is, this is just the process beginning.
Now, let's be clear. The process of reconciliation is going to involve cooperation with the bipartisan group of senators. We have all the Republican senators, and then we have all the Democratic senators. So all of these, like right here on your screen, are all the Republican senators in this new bipartisan group. So check out all of these Republican senators right here. They are the ones in the bipartisan group. And then, of course, we have Democrats. Check out all of these Democratic senators in the bipartisan group. Check. So all of these Republican senators and the Democratic senators have to be convinced by the director of the White House Economic Council, Brian Deese. There he is. Hi there, Brian. How are you? So again, we have all the Republican senators right here, and then we have all the Democratic senators right here. Check this out. Republican senators, all of them, and the Democratic senators, all of them. The bipartisan group of senators. And the question is, can they come to a consensus, and can Brian Deese, the director of the White House Economic Council, led by President Biden? There he is, President Biden. Hello. Can President Biden get the Republicans right here and the Democrats right here to come together? Because if he can get them to come together, then they can essentially encourage the rest of their colleagues, specifically I'm talking about the Republicans, to support the next stimulus package. Now, in the next segment, which is super interesting, I believe President Biden just sort of revealed his hand a little bit. He said that he was open to negotiating the income threshold for the $1,400 stimulus check. Could we see a $40,000 a year income threshold? Could we see a $50,000 a year income threshold? The lower the threshold is, the more targeted the bill becomes as far as these senators are concerned. Keep in mind, I did do another video earlier today talking about all the Republican senators here and all the Democratic senators here who spoke with Brian Deese. There he is. Hello, Brian. How are you? They spoke with Brian Deese and they said, hey, this needs to be more targeted. Like I said, I believe President Biden tipped his hand by admitting that he was open to a modification of the income thresholds for the next stimulus payment. Let's roll the tape and hear what he had to say.
I propose that because it was bipartisan, I thought it would increase the prospects of passage, the additional $1,400 in direct cash payment to folks. Well, there's legitimate reason for people to say, do you have the lines drawn the exact right way? Should it go to anybody making over X number of dollars, or why? I'm open to negotiate those things. That's all. I picked it because I thought it was rational, reasonable, and it had overwhelming bipartisan support in the House when it passed. But this is all a bit of a moving target in terms of the precision with which this goes. You're asking about unity, 51 votes, bipartisan, et cetera. The other piece of this is that the one thing that gives me hope that we're not only going to sort of stay away from the ad hominem attacks on one another is that there is an overwhelming consensus among the major economists at home and in the world that the way to avoid a deeper recession moving in the direction of losing our competitive capacity is to spend money now, from across the board Every major institution has said, if we don't invest now, we're going to lose so much altitude in terms of our employment base and our economic growth, it's going to be harder to reestablish it. We can afford to do it now. As a matter of fact, I think the response has been, we can't afford not to invest now. We can't afford to fail to invest now. And I think there's a growing realization of that on the part of all but some very, very hard-edged partisans, maybe on both sides. But I think there is a growing consensus. Whether we get it all done exactly the way I want it remains to be seen. But I'm confident that we can work our way through. We have to work our way through because, as I've said 100 times, there is no ability in a democracy for it to function without the ability to reach consensus. Otherwise, it just becomes executive fiat or battleground issues that get us virtually nowhere. I don't want to hold my colleague may know, the vice president, but you know, I think there were very few debates on the Senate floor the whole last year on almost any issue. Well, that benefits no one. Doesn't inform anybody, doesn't allow the public to make judgments about who they think is right or wrong. So I am optimistic that it may take some time, but over the year, the way if we treat each other with respect, and we're going to argue like hell. I'm confident of that, believe me, I know that. I've been there. But I think we can do it in a way that we can get things done for the American people.
So that's it, everyone. You'll get a link to the entire interview, to the entire press conference in the description section below. Let me know what you think. Please comment below and let us know what you think. I'm keen to know whether you think income thresholds should be in place or should be modified relative to how it was with the CARES Act and with the $900 billion package, because those income thresholds were quite generous. In other words, they redirected money to those who potentially did not need it, according to the bipartisan group of senators, okay? Don't blame the messenger. I'm telling you what the bipartisan group of senators are saying. And let me know whether you think the Democrats should push through with the process of reconciliation, because these are the two things that really jumped out from President Biden's press conference today. Let me know what you think. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. My name is Dr. Nitin Chhoda with Ignition Time. If you don't know anything about me, check out my video. You'll learn more about who I am, what my journey has been like, and why you should listen to me. This channel, the Ignition Time channel, is about the country, it's about the economy, and it's about your money. I try and bring you important news every single day, news that will help you make the right decisions. I want you to be happy. I want us to be in party mode. At some point, when we're past all this stimulus stuff and the unemployment stuff, I want it to be raining money. Well, seriously, I want to teach you how to make money. I want to teach you how to save money, and I'm going to teach you how to invest money. And you can do that when you understand how politics works. I'll help you understand what's going on in the complex world of politics. What's going on with President Biden? What's going on with House Speaker Pelosi? What's going on with the Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer? There he is. What's going on with the Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell? That's interesting to call him Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell. There he is. I'll help you understand what's going on in the complex world of politics, how it affects the country, and by extension, how it affects your money. Remember, we release videos every single day, and I'm asking you to subscribe to our channel. Please click like, please subscribe, please enable notifications. I would really appreciate that. The name of our channel is Ignition Time. I would really appreciate if you do that. Please share this video with just 2 friends or family members. That's 2 friends or family members. You'll find a link to all of our resources in the description section below. So make sure you check out the description section below. You can follow us on Instagram. Our Instagram handle is ignition_time. Our Instagram community is growing very rapidly. And you can also follow us on Twitter. Our Twitter handle is also ignition_time. That's ignition_time. In fact, right here, you'll see me on Twitter. You can follow me on Twitter. You'll learn in real time what I'm reading, what I'm retweeting. Become a part of our growing Twitter community. Speaking of community, please comment below and engage with our community. We are a growing, bipartisan, respectful community. As always, once again, you'll get the link to all of our resources in the description section below. Please click like, please subscribe, please enable notifications. That tells a YouTube algorithm that you found this video helpful. I really appreciate you watching. I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next episode of Ignition Time. Thanks. Bye.